afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Fly With Us podcast. This podcast is bringing the art of conversation, self-love, self-care, mental health care and protection, life lessons, love lessons, and everything in between. Today we're joined by a special guest, Kat King. I'm your girl, Lady Bounce.
And I am Picket Fence. Today's Mindfulness Minute is called Your Own Spark. I do not claim superiority over anyone else in my journey through this world. I claim no unique access to the truth. No for sure way of avoiding misfortune. I share a common lot with all beings. There is no correct way through life, no guaranteed safe passages. Most straight-laced persons has no definitive advantage over the most reckless. The most stained person and the most artistic share the same conditions. The wheel continues to turn. The person who is now at the top will soon be on the bottom and vice versa. We cast about looking for consolation, and we can find it only in our own common lot. We only need to be aware of thinking ourselves immune from the trials of life. My turn will come soon, and so will yours. We must muster our courage and do the best we can. You may have spent many years looking for the answers, for the ready-made solution to your problems of life. Perhaps you have come as close as you will get. Rather than looking for more wisdom, sit there with the wisdom that you already have. Sit there with the goodness of your own nature and with the lessons that life has taught you thus far. Sit there with your own spark and fan it into a flame. Word up.
Wow. I feel like I'm powerful now. I got a spark.
Got a spark. Everybody's got a spark.
Everybody's got a spark?
Everybody's got their own spark.
Okay. So we're joined today by Kat King. Kat is, let me see. She says that she's a spoken word artist or a poet. I call her friend. She's also a personal shopper. Even though her job is temporarily on hiatus. That's okay though. They're coming back big and strong. Shout out to Dante. We got your back. It'll be back. All right. So you got lots of things. Man, we have so much to talk about. So Pickett, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can start off. Yeah. So let's start off. How did you? Yeah, you go first. Yeah, you go first. I'm sitting back.
Okay. So tell us, how did you get into spoken word? Like, how did you know that poetry is your thing or spoken word is your thing? How'd you get there?
Well, I always loved writing ever since I was younger. I actually wanted to grow up to be a songwriter. That's what I wanted, when I was younger. And the love of writing continued as I got older. I love poetry, but I felt like there were a lot of limits to poetry as far as you're taught the basic rhyme scheme, you're taught haikus. None of that resonated with me, but I loved writing. And in high school on Facebook, there was a video of a couple giving their vows by spoken word. And I was watching this and I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know how to do it, but I want to do it. And so I wrote one that, in my opinion, is pretty good for my first one. And I kind of set it aside, didn't even think anything of it. And a few years later, that video resonated, came back up again on my Facebook. And I was like, what is this? This is so cool. And so I was kind of talking to some coworkers at work and someone referred me to a YouTube page and I discovered spoken word had a name, had a community. And I started looking around Dayton. I found when I went to Third Perk, when they were at their old location, I started performing there and kind of put it on hold for a bit and then came back this year, started networking, and I've been going ever since.
Dope. So earlier before we started, you told me you did a slam out of town. Tell us about that experience and being in a slam versus the normal shows that you do.
So slams are, let me start by saying I'm new in slams. So slams are essentially competitions for poetry. So there's different poets come from all over, they compete, there are judges, it's a whole thing. But I've only done I think 2 leading up to Friday. So I'm still very new at it, but it was cool to get out of this area and go see a wide range of poets that I've never seen before. You know, a lot of times when we see the same poets around here, I know their stuff. So I know their punchlines. I know what they're going to say. I know how they work the crowd. But it's cool to go see another area because, one, I hear different pieces I haven't heard before. But my biggest takeaway was seeing how different performers perform poetry. You know, I'm so new at this that I'm shaped by the things around me. And so going to another space and interacting with other poets, seeing how other poets perform versus just recite poetry, I had a lot of takeaways. And I've honestly been writing nonstop since I was there because I mean, I'm so new that I just absorb everything. And so going there, I learned a lot about the writing aspect, the performing aspect. You know, I networked with a lot of great people. It was great.
Dope. That sounds dope. Now, do you think that you will be going on the road a lot more now since you've had this experience?
Prior to Friday, I didn't feel like slam poetry was going to be something I was interested in. I felt like I just liked a lot of the local shows. I liked going and just kind of, you know, I like a really positive environment. And sometimes the slams, you know, when you're competing, there's that aspect. There's also the aspect of everyone brings their best stuff. So I can't always, you know, play with it a little bit. I got to come ready. But it was a really cool experience. And I was so inspired by like just the other poets and their performances, because as much as I love to perform, I love to listen to poetry. So listening to other poets, I was like, man, I want to move people like they moved me. Like, I want to do this. And so after Friday, I was like, man, I might be a slam poet now. This might be I might be doing this. And like, I'm not mad. I think it'll be cool, but it's new. It'll be new to me, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Wow.
I like it. So, of course, you know, we are women and we are complicated and we think and we overthink and we overthink and then we underthink. So what do you think about, like, where do you get your inspiration for your poetry and your spoken word? Where's it come from?
So before, like prior, my poetry was just coming from experiences. You know, I'd either be feeling a certain type of way that I'm like, I got to write something, or something would just come to me and I'd be like, okay, let me actually try to sort through this. But these days I'm being a little bit more intentional with my writing. And so I've been doing a lot of writing exercises, but I've also been trying to absorb how other people write to kind of give me different perspectives. You know, a lot of times I just write about my experiences, but I want to learn how to do wordplay better. I want to learn how to do metaphors better. And so the only way I'm going to get better at those is by learning or listening to other people that do it well. And so that's what I'm doing a lot these days.
Okay, so do you have like a collection of poetry, like CDs, or are you going online just like studying other poets or listening to music? And
I'm out in the community a lot. I go to a lot of events in general. So I feel like I'm always in spaces like that. But when I'm not, I've recently really started utilizing TikTok to like expand my knowledge of it. So I've been following writers, not just poets, but writers in general. I've been following, beat producers. I've been following open verse challenges. I'm just trying to really get that space around me always.
I like that. That's dope. So there's a person that I want to give you to check out. Her name is Sarah, the instrumentalist. Okay. She does like beats and like real fly acoustic type hip hop beats, like lo-fi beats. We've actually used some of her music on the show, and her music is all free use. So that's like, you know, real dope. I'm always down for people who are like, I'm creative, you're creative, you can use my creativity without having to like pay an arm and a leg. Just give me a shout out. Like, I love stuff like that, because that's how we as artists, we keep creating and being able to create and inviting people into their creative space. So Absolutely. When you do go to write, like, how do you set your space? You have like candles and wine and lights. Like, what's your space look like when you're creating?
It just depends. You know, a lot of times being a little bit more intentional with my writing, it's just clearing a whole afternoon, because I used to try to do like daily exercises. and I couldn't do that. It's hard for me to snap into the creative mindset and then stay there, or to snap into it and then to exit it so quickly. So I found it best that I just literally take a whole afternoon, every week, and I just sit down and do these exercises and just challenge myself, like really just try to kind of keep going. But as far as, I'm always burning like incense. I just got some wax melts from Goods by Deb in Dayton. So shout out Deb.
yeah.
I've been burning those, and those have just, everyone loves good smells to begin with, but that's always nice. And just, I love the sunshine. So I open my windows and just kind of relax. I love a good playlist. So I turn on a playlist depending on what I'm looking for. Recently, I have found the best way. This is so silly, and I feel so silly, but it works for me. There's an R&B baby playlist that was released to help babies go to sleep, and I just turn that on, and it's just this mellow, relaxing. It's baby like sleep music, but like I just put that on, and it just is so like calming that it just allows me to really like hone in on the writing. So.
That's dope. Now you're talking about listening to artists. Do you think that maybe in the near future you will actually like put out your poetry in an audio or either a book for people to consume on their own?
I have plans to put out a book of poetry. That is definitely on my radar for this year. As far as the audio, there's not a lot of poets these days that I feel like do audio, so I'm not as exposed to it. But there are a few poets that I've connected with in Cincinnati that have done it. And so I've been weighing my pros and cons. I'd say that's not something that I want to do right now, but the book has definitely been a goal of mine. It was my goal last year, really, but I was out performing so much that I just put that off to the side because I was enjoying performing a lot.
That's cool. Now, do you have a favorite subject that you like to write about?
At this point in my journey, I've been doing a lot of self-reflection pieces. I've been doing a lot of just like self-discovery in my personal life, and I'm learning a lot about myself. And like I mentioned earlier, going to Detroit for that slam, just I took away so much. I really listen to the poetry. I take away the messages. And so I've been trying to be more intentional with my poetry as well, as far as giving messages that are worth like taking away from. I don't want to get up there just to say rhymes or just to say fun stuff or get a laugh or whatever. I want to get up there with a message to deliver.
Yeah, that's dope. I think that's always important. I know, like, even for myself, my music, I want there to be a message. Even if this subject is fun, I still want there to be an underlying message in there.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I still love to do a good fun piece, but a lot of my stuff now is just, when I started looking at myself less and looking at the world more, in turn, I saw more of myself. So I was able to really present the things that I have to say in a way that people can relate to or understand, or at least I can make myself known, if that makes sense. So it's cool.
Cool. So let's jump into this. Now that you've been doing a lot of shows and you've gone to some slams recently, now you have your own event that you're going to be doing. Tell us about that.
The show, is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
So I have teamed up with Varsity House, which is a space on North St. Clair Street. It has art in there, the juice box is in there. It's a really beautiful space, and I've been asked to be the host of Busboys and Poets there. So we'll be starting in February. Every second Tuesday of the month, we'll have a space in there where poets can come out. It's going to be a really nice, relaxing vibe. The art is beautiful in there, so it's a great way to come out. But we're hosting our first one on Valentine's Day, so Tuesday, February 14th. Doors will open at 6:30. Show will start at 7, and it's $5 admission. So a very affordable date night. If there's anyone looking for a nice little Valentine's Day date, we will have Southern Secrets, which is a wine vendor in there. We'll have food. We'll have a nice little playlist made of local artists. So if anyone has any local love songs that they could send me, I'll add those to the playlist. But it's gonna be a good time. Good time.
That sounds
That's-
real dope.
That sounds like it. And as a connoisseur and consumer of Southern secret wines, that has me like all the way there. Like I'm
Yes.
in the spot.
I'm excited.
Like,
I'm very excited.
And you know, shout out to Lantra, but he's also my massage therapist and has been for like, I don't know, what, 9-10 years now, Jay?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, he's the only man that Jay ever let touch me. So it's kind of exciting. It's kind of a big deal. Yeah, he's good. He's got gifted hands. The man is truly gifted. All right,
Yes.
so they've asked you to host this event. I'm excited. I think, I'm not sure what we're doing on Tuesday. That's a school night for me. So we're definitely gonna try to make it out though.
The good news is we start a little bit earlier than a lot of the shows. So, we're hoping to kind of wrap it up a little bit earlier too. Because I'm the same way. I'm not trying to be out all night. I'm trying to get to bed. I am trying to have my midnight snack and just call it a wrap.
Yes, on the midnight snack.
Yes,
I
definitely.
want all the snacks.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit more about the show. Do you have a line of artists that are already selected to perform this night?
We wanted to kind of keep it open. We're not looking, we want people to let us know if they're coming so we can go ahead and put them on the list, but we're not necessarily coordinating a whole lineup ahead of time. We want it to truly be an open mic where if someone pulls up and they want to hop on the mic, you're more than welcome, So I've got quite a few poets in the area that have said they're going to attend and perform. So we've got a great lineup so far. I think it'll be a great time. It really will be.
That sounds dope.
But again, I'm looking at giving opportunities to other artists. So like by building our playlist of local art, that was something I really wanted because, it's great to go to a show and they're playing, well-known music, stuff everyone knows. But as an artist, I think it's a whole other thing to know that someone's playing your music, other people are hearing it, in every video someone takes, your song is going to be in the back, or in every Snapchat video or Instagram story, someone's going to be hearing their music played in the back. And I think, like, again, you were talking about building each other up. Like that's the way that we're able to support each other. So I'm looking at including, other people, giving opportunities to vendors, to have the wine in there. And we're looking at getting a dessert vendor. So I truly want it to be, an event for all entrepreneurs, all artists, a space to really get Dayton together. Another space to get Dayton together. There's so many great spaces. I just want to be another one,
Yeah, that's dope. I think that's really important especially when you're talking about the artist community, is having that space. I know for a long time there weren't a lot of spaces available to artists, so there are always different types of hiccups with being able to have that space. So I think that's really dope of you to, have that space available for artists especially artists who are just starting to get going, as well as artists who are already established in some sense. Absolutely. To have a place to be that just like home, whether you want to do old stuff or test out new stuff, I think that's really important.
Yeah, and Varsity House is a great space in general because they have so many opportunities. We're just starting the poetry there, but they already have a well-established set of performances for music artists. They have the gallery where you can come and inquire about putting your art in there. Like they have so many other things already set in place. I'm excited to just bring the element of poetry into the picture.
Yeah, I think that's real dope. And I've been spreading the word, letting people know, because I think that, like I said, it's really important for artists to be able to have that space that they can, do their thing. So yeah, I'm really, really pulling for you. And like I said, we're definitely going to try to be down there.
Well, great. Well, if you can't make this one, second Tuesday of every month.
Second Tuesday of every month. Word.
Second Tuesday of every month. Yep.
I like it. I like it a lot. Creative spaces, working with each other, definitely on the working with each other. We've, me and Jay were talking about it the other day about there's so many people that are trying to do a lot of similar things, and it would be so much easier if we all just came together to do it. And so then there isn't that competition or that, well, I'm already doing that, and why is she trying to do what I'm trying to do? Because if you don't open a space for creatives to work together, then it does become really cliquey, and oh, I went to today's show, so I can't go to today's show. Well, I'm one of those people. I'm gonna go to your show. I'm gonna go to yours. I'm gonna go to yours, and not realizing that oh, I'm supposed to only mess with this person or only support this person, because to me that that's really stupid. So I really like the idea that you said it's open to anybody who is being creative, wants to be creative, wants a space, especially like newcomers, up and comers who might want a smaller space or a smaller kind of stage because they're not quite sure themselves yet. Like, I just think that's dope. The whole open mic concept takes away like the performance pressure that people tend to feel. So I'm digging the whole thing.
Yeah, it'll be a great time.
Word up. So tell us, what all the different things that you've been doing lately, how do you first make time for it, and what do you do for self-care?
I am learning how to make time for it. Like Lady Bounce mentioned, my job is on a little hiatus, so I've had plenty of time to just kind of. It's been a nice time. I'm very blessed with how things have been working out. As far as I've had, I may have lost my job, but I've had all this time to write. I've been, building the branding of what I want Kat King to be. As far as when I decide kind of what career path I'm going down. Making that time has been easy these days because I have a lot of it. But I've also, I use the word intentional a lot, but that's really what I'm trying to do, is be intentional with my time. I'm trying to make my time productive as possible, because not many people are in this position where I may not have a job, which sucks, but I have all this time to actually accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. And so it's about managing the time for me, figuring out how much time I need to devote, because I'm doing so many things, but also understanding that I've always been a person to go to bed early, but it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, I may have to stay up I may have to pull some late nights, or I may have to, after I get home from a show, I may not want to record that video, but I have to. So it's learning the balance of, responsibilities versus self-care too, but as far as what I do for self-care, I never really felt like I had a self-care routine, but I guess recently I have kind of noticed a way for me to unwind is just, again, being intentional, but just making that time of turning on. I have an affirmation playlist that I turn on that I listen to regularly, like every morning, but like especially intentional I take a bubble bath. Like, it's so basic, but I take a bubble bath with a face mask. I light the candles. I just get in there and relax. And that's the only way that I can really get my mind to kind of unwind and not be focused on anything, because I turn the lights off. So I'm just in there in the dark, and it's just relaxing, but I've tried to be more intentional about that, and just doing those kind of self-care practices. But also with writing, I think as a creative, you also have to take self-care as far as, I don't want to feel like I have to write all the time because I have to perform. I want to write because I love writing. And so that's why I've really been like utilizing the TikTok open verse challenge, because I probably sat down yesterday and maybe wrote 10 open verses, but I'm only gonna post 2 or 3 of them, because the other ones were just ones for me. They were just to kind of get in there and just kind of have a little fun with, maybe play with some new stuff, maybe try some new stuff, maybe say something completely wild that I would never say on stage. So it's nice to kind of do that, and that's a way that I still enjoy the writing aspect of it, because again, I don't want to ever feel like I have to write because I have to write. I want to write because I want to.
Right. For those who don't know, explain the open verse that you were talking about on TikTok.
So the open verse, normally it's a musician or an artist that has a song that they have. There's two different ones that I look at. One, the artists have songs and then they sing their verse, and then they give you, so many beats to kind of come back on or to hop on. And then I also find instrumentals that I just kind of play with. Sometimes I don't follow the beat and I just kind of do my own flow. Sometimes it's an actual intentional beat. I've been trying to expand my skill set as a writer, because eventually I want to go back to that dream I had as a kid and be a songwriter. So as a spoken word poet, I have no beat to follow. I am the beat. I make the beat. But when you're trying to write to a beat, it's a completely different thing that I'm trying to get better at. So that's another, skill I can have. So it's fun just to, hop on that little beat. I can't freestyle by any means. I'm too much of a perfectionist. So I'll sit there and pause the video 10 times just to write one line. But it's a really good form of self-care because, again, like I said, I get done with it and I have, just a little 30-second clip of a little poem that doesn't have to go anywhere. Because sometimes as a writer, when I write a good stanza, I feel like I have to write a whole poem. And so sometimes just getting that nice little stanza out and being like, that's what that is, that's good. And just kind of letting it go. That's, a cool thing that I do.
And then if inspiration, strikes you, like I know for Jay, watching him write, it's so weird because he'll do like you said, and he'll write a verse to a beat and then he'll put it to the side or he'll record it just on his phone. And a month later, he's like, oh, I got another line for that song that I did a month ago. And I'm like, I thought you finished that. And he's like, no, I was doing 6 songs at once. And I'm but how?
I open all the tabs so I have them in my Google Docs and then my notes app. So I'll open them all up and I'll just go through each of them and see can I add something onto this? Is there something I can add? And I have one long document of just lines. They're not stanzas. They have no place. They're just floating lines because they're good lines. I just don't know where I would use them yet.
So,
yep, he does the same thing.
Yeah,
so
exact same thing.
It must be something universal with you creative types. I'm creative in another way, so my brain doesn't. Yeah, that would probably just mess me up. But I like to see him in his creative process. It's just real dope to see him in his zone. But for me, that would never work. I couldn't.
So before we get out of here, tell the people if they want to get up with you, how they can get up with you.
I am on Facebook and Instagram at CreativeCat74. That is my personal page, and TikTok, CreativeCat74. And then our Busboys and Poets is on Facebook and Instagram at 937 Busboys and Poets. So you could check us out there. You were wanting to hop on the mic at the show, you could message any of those accounts and we'll get you on the list for the Valentine's Day show. But
Sweet. And once again, another thing before we get out of here, I got to get into my favorite part of the show, which is brain science.
All right, so we've been talking to Creative Cat today about poetry and spoken word. So now I'm going to tell you what reading poetry does to your brain. Mm-hmm. So whether you grew up reading Where the Sidewalk Ends or you spend your morning commute mulling over Maya Angelou, poetry has probably played some part in your life outside of high school English. Poetry can be uplifting, showcasing the beauty of nature. It can be dark, painting the corners of the human psyche. What we all know, but what we may not know, is how in-depth the psyche can go. When you're reading poetry, your brain can go to other places just like when you read a book. So we knew that though, right? So here are some new findings about poetry in your brain. Poetry and music thrill you in the same way. Researchers have found that reading poetry stimulates the right hemisphere of your brain, which also includes regions that also tend to respond to music. Incidentally, these regions can cause shivers down the spine, linking both music and poetry to reward and emotion. It's not just about feelings though. Other work has also shown that unfamiliar and complex words help boost your brain. Poetry stimulates areas of the brain linked to memory. There's a reading network of brain areas that lights up whenever we interact with written material. And so in this study that they did, they studied 13 volunteers and they read an extract from a heating installation manual and the evocative passages from novels and easy and difficult sonnets, as well as their favorite poetry. Regions of the brain linked to memory showed more activity than the general reading network while they were reading the poetry. So it stimulates those little tingly things in your brain that make your brain be efficient. I like it. Last but not least, poetry makes people self-reflect more. And if you listen to anything that Kat said she's been more self-reflective, and that is driving her poetry to new heights and new levels. And I can't wait to see it. But reading poetry helps us chill out and figure ourselves out. Researchers have found that it stimulates the part of the brain linked to our resting states, the posterior circular cortex, and medial temporal lobes. Those are part of the network brain regions that are active when someone is just sitting and relaxing, and have also been linked to major introspection.
Dope.
So write a poem, self-reflect, get your brain going.
Mm-hmm.
Dope. Well, once again, thank you for coming on the show today. We have learned a lot. We're supporting you, and we are rooting for you. And we're going to spread the word so people come out to Busboys and Poets. Word out.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This is great. It's always a good time to see you guys.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, that's our show for today. You can find us wherever you find your favorite podcasts. I'm your boy Picket Fence.
I'm your girl, Lady Bounce.
We out of here. Peace.
Peace.